This is it. Season 7 is finally here. The servers are going live today. I have the ultimate leveling guide for you. This is going to be a Pulvarize Druid. I leveled this up and I tested it out, and it was so strong leveling up. I wish that there were higher difficulty tiers because I was absolutely murdering monsters. I'm going to give you a breakdown of how the planner looks, where to go, and how to navigate it, because I split it up into different leveling sections, and then we'll go over the skills, the aspects, all of the new crazy witch powers that you're going to see as you're going through this storyline. We have 3 different segments here. You have your 1 through 25, you have your 26 through 40, then you have your 41 through 60. These are broken up very specifically. When you start off, it's going to have very, very minimal stats in the first one. It's going to have aspects that will be listed out at the bottom here. All of the aspects are all aspects that you can find in dungeons. It's not something that you have to randomly hope that you get in order to put this build together. You go to each of the dungeon and then you can find them there. So if you come in game and you go into your Codex of Power, we're going to come up here and we're going to type in Mangled. This was one of the aspects that we're going to be looking for. Now, if you look right here, I have not completed it and I haven't found this yet. If I click on this right here, and you can see it right down where it says remove pin or add pin, that's going to be the key that you click. You go right into your map, and now it's actually going to put a pin on your map, and it's going to show you exactly where you need to go for that dungeon. It makes it really, really easy to go from the planner right into the game and find the dungeons that you're looking for. I've also listed below some of the ones that are going to drop, that are going to be the ones that you want to look for. If you find them, you go into the final variant of the planner and put in the aspect where it says to put them in. The most important ones I listed as important, so make sure that if there's going to be a dungeon that you go to, go do that dungeon. When I was doing my level testing, I actually waited until I found this aspect, and it made a world of difference when I got it. So if I had known that it was in a dungeon and I looked this up ahead of time, I would have gone right away, gotten it, and I would have set that off correctly. Now, to set this guide up, we're going to go over the gear stats first, then your aspects, then your skill tree, and then your witch powers. In the very first variant of the planner, we're going to have very, very minimal stats on your gear that you're going to be looking for. Now, I did put a temper on here if you wanted to temper after level 10. Level 10 is where it starts, and that is actually a very important part. We'll talk about that in a little bit. You do not have to temper all of these. But the ones that you do want to look for and go through and enchant, if you can, is going to be your spirit per second. Spirit per second can be on your helmet, on your chest piece, and also on your boots. Those are going to be incredibly important for this because it makes your quality of life way better. On your rings, we're going to put spirit on kill, and then on your amulet, we're going to do the same thing. We put movement speed on there if you can, but again, don't spend too much because you're going to be replacing this often. But if you find pieces of gear with these stats on it, those are going to be the ones that you want to put on because that's going to make life way, way better. We have a couple different tempers, as you see here, that you can go through and you can add on as you get through and further into the game. Do not worry about your materials as much this season because we have to do so many whispers for your seasonal reputation. We're going to have a ton of materials. The new zone drops a massive amount of loot, so we're going to have a bunch of salvage stuff. Don't sell your gear for gold. Salvage all of it. It's going to put you ahead of the game right away. You're going to get plenty of gold from the Tree of Whispers, so don't worry about that too much. Now, this season, as long as you have completed a druid in the past, in any of the other seasons, you won't have to do the whole long class quest, which is an absolutely amazing thing. If you haven't done it, go do your quest at level 15. If not, then what you can do is that you're going to put your advantageous beast here for movement speed and then impairment reduction. Then we're going to go with energize. This, I believe, is changing in the next patch, and I don't think there's going to be a chance for spirit. It's going to be a passive spirit regen. This will get updated as Mobalytics finishes updating their planner. Then we're going to have Obsidian Slam. Every 10th kill, your next Earth skill is going to overpower. So we have a bunch of different ways to overpower in this build. Then we're going to be running more maximum life for more overpower damage, and then more critical strike damage here. For your aspects, we're going to be running Ballistic Aspect. When you have Fortify, your Earth skills are going to gain ranks. Aspect of Might, every single time that you use a basic skill, which is going to be Claw for this build, and we'll explain why when we get into the skill portion of it. You're going to get 20% damage reduction every single time you use it, and that is going to last for up to 10 seconds. We're going to be running Retaliation. Your core skills are going to deal additional damage based on your Fortify. We're going to be running Aspect of Mending. The duration of your Earthen Bulwark is going to be increased by 6 seconds. In addition, killing an enemy with a skill replenishes your active Earthen Bulwark barrier. A little bit of survivability. We're going to be running Ghostwalker. Every time that you become unstoppable, which we're going to have a couple different ways, that's going to give you more movement speed, and movement speed is life early on, especially. Crash Stone. Earth skills deal up to 75% increased damage to crowd-controlled enemies. We're going to be running two-handed weapons for this, so you don't have to constantly replace two different weapons, and this will give you double your bonus on that weapon. Then we're going to be running Ursine Horror. This one is the most important one here. Your Pulvarize skills are also an Earth skill. After casting Pulvarize, tectonic spikes continue to deal damage over 2 seconds. Now, this is going to make it so that you unlock a whole bunch of different abilities and the different skills inside the skill tree, because now it's going to be an Earth skill. We're going to be running Mangled Aspect here. What this is going to do, well, in Werebear form, you're going to gain up to 30 spirit every 8 seconds. And then we're going to be running Umbral here. Whenever you crowd control, you're going to restore your primary resources. So that's the aspects. When we go into the final variant, some of them are going to change to what we're going to use that you can find on the ground. Not everything comes from a dungeon. The blood boiling aspect, while I was leveling up, basically killed everything for me. If you overpower once, you just run through the blood boils and everything dies. It is really, really great for leveling. So blood boiling aspect is going to be really important for this. The shockwave aspect as well, that changed the game because that started doing damage across the whole entire screen right in front of you. So that's going to be a really, really good one to add as well. But from level 1 to level 60, those were the only two aspects that I put on that I had to find on the ground. So those worked really, really well for me. Okay, we're going to go take a look at the skills now. Now, I was very particular in how we set up this skill tree. If you come up to the top here and you go into leveling path, this is going to give you a breakdown of every single skill and how I put them in as I leveled. If you follow along with this planner and then you just go and put in all of your points as you go down the list, you're going to run out of points before you get all of the really necessary skills. So follow along with this. It starts with Claw, Enhanced Claw, then goes into Pulvarize, and then you can follow along with all of the points when I put them in where. There is only one little side note, and I'll put this in the changelog. The Pulvarize skills accidentally went in at the very end of the planner. So when you're going through and you put this together, if you come right here, as soon as you finish with Petrify, that's where you're going to start putting all of your points into your Pulvarize, and then you pick back up with Quick Shift. If you just go through and put it in, I actually ran through the entire game with only 1 point to Pulvarize and absolutely destroyed anything. So it's not the biggest deal if you just follow along with this guide here. So starting up the top, we're going to be going into Claw. The reason that we're going to be taking Claw is because this is going to give us the ability to swap into werewolf form. That's going to come into play later on in the guide. We're going to put 1 point into Wild Heart so we can unlock Wild Impulses. Your core skills are going to cost 9% more spirit, but they're going to deal 15% more damage. We're going to be taking Predatory Instincts. You're going to get 6% increased critical strike chance against close enemies. Iron Fur. You're going to gain 12% damage reduction while you're in bear form. That bonus is going to last 3 seconds after you leave werebear form. We're going to be putting 5 points into Pulvarize because it's going to be your main source of damage. We're going to be doing Enhanced Pulvarize all the way down through Raging Pulvarize. Pulvarize is going to deal 75% increased overpower damage. Enemies overpowered by Pulvarize are stunned for 3 seconds. We're going to be going 1 point into Earthen Bulwark. This is going to give us a source of barrier. And then we're going to be taking Enhanced Bulwark. This is going to give us Unstoppable. We're going to be going 3 points into Backlash. You're going to deal 12% increased damage for 5 seconds after casting a defensive skill. So Earthen Bulwark will be your defensive skill, so we'll be using that. We're going to be going 3 points into Feral Aptitude. You're going to deal 9% increased damage while healthy and 9% increased damage while you're above 100% movement speed. So those can stack to 18%. We're going to be doing Poison Creeper all the way down through your Brutal Poison Creeper. Your critical strike chance is increased by 20% against enemies strangled by Poison Creeper. So you cast your Poison Creeper right before you Pulvarize, and you get a ton of critical strike chance for that Pulvarize. We're going to be going 3 points into Crushing Earth. Your Earth skills are going to deal 15% increased damage to slowed, stunned, immobilized, and knocked back enemies. That's why it's important that we get the aspect that converts your Pulvarize into an Earth skill. We're going to go 1 point into Safeguard. Critical strikes with your Earth skill are going to fortify you for 3% of your maximum life. Stone Guard. While you are fortified over 50% of your maximum life, your Earth skills are going to deal 12% increased damage. Down into Neurotoxin, all the way down through Envenom. You and your companions gain 30% critical strike damage bonus against poison enemies from Poison Creeper. 3 points into Mending. While in werebear form, you're going to receive additional healing, and you're going to get 12% increased maximum life. Maximum life actually equals more damage and more survivability. Overpowering gets additional damage based on your maximum life and your fortify amount. We're going to be doing provocation. While you remain in werebear form for at least 12 seconds, your next non-defensive skill is going to overpower. Trample. This is going to be a really, really great source of unstoppable and spirit gain. Trample will take you out of any stun, out of any freeze, and it's also going to grant you 40 spirit. We're going to start cycling through different ways to get spirit. We're going to be going 5 points into Petrify. Then we're going to go up all the way through Supreme Petrify. Killing an enemy affected by Petrify reduces its cooldown by 1 second. Hitting a boss with Petrify reduces the cooldown by 10 seconds. We're also going to have 30% increased critical strike damage by the enemies affected. And as we're running this, you're going to generate 100 spirit and stun all of the enemies in the area. We're going to go 3 points into Natural Disaster. Your Earth skills deal 12% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. We're going to take 3 points into Catastrophe. You deal 15% increased damage for 8 seconds after casting an ultimate skill. Quick Shift, shape-shifting into a new animal, grants 3% increased damage up to 18%. This bonus is lost after 3 seconds in human form. That's where you use Claw, and then you use Pulvarize, and you swap back and forth between the two. Heightened Sense. When shapeshifting, Werebear grants 9% damage reduction, and Werewolf grants 9% movement speed. Both bonuses persist as long as you are in either animal form. They are lost after 3 seconds in human form. So as long as you remain in one of the two forms, you're going to get both of these bonuses constantly right here. And then for our key passive, we're going to be going with Ursine's Strength. You're going to gain 30% increased maximum life while in werebear form and 3 seconds after leaving it. While healthy, you're going to deal 15% increased damage and 70% increased overpowered damage. That's the skill tree. Let's go take a look at the Occult Gems and the Witch Powers. For your runes, we're going to be running only basic runes. What I did is I ran Yax and I ran Lum. This was an amazing source of spirit through the leveling process. Every time that I used a healing potion, I was basically back to full spirit right away. We're going to be running Sir or Cur, and then we're also going to be running our Spirit Wolves here as a way to summon Spirit Wolves without having to spec into them. For the Occult Gems and how this is going to work, we're going to have 3 different gems. Now, for your Witch Powers and your Occult Gems, both. If you do not have them as you're leveling, because you're going to unlock them as you go, that's okay. Slot in whatever you have until you can have access to these here. We're going to be running Hungering Void. While you have an aura active, pull nearby enemies towards you. Wicked Pack. Your non-unique Eldritch powers are going to gain 25% potency. Killing Winds. While you have 3 or more Eldritch Witch powers slotted, you're going to gain 25% movement speed and 15% critical strike chance. So how these work? These work in conjunction with your Witch powers. So for the Witch powers, we're going to be running Doom Orb. This is going to be a giant ball of energy that's going to circle around you and do damage. Now we're going to be going into our Eldritch powers. The reason that we're taking Eldritch powers, it's going to activate this Killing Wind here. Well, you have 3 or more active, so we have 1, 2, 3 Eldritch powers. Shaken Soul is going to be a source of vulnerable damage. It's going to make enemies vulnerable for up to 9 seconds. And then at rank 10, as you level up your Witch powers, you're going to gain additional bonuses. At rank 10, damage from your Psyche and your Growth and Decay effects will apply vulnerable at half the duration. So as you apply your Eldritch effects, which is going to be our Firebat Servant, that's how we're going to apply Eldritch effects. And it's also going to be our Wave of Woes. Both of them are going to deal damage. This is going to deal shadow damage. And then at rank 5, the damage is going to be increased by 15% each time that it bounces back and forth between different enemies. If you're fighting a single target, it can actually still bounce 5 times, and that will still give you that 15% increase per. The Firebat Servant, every 2 seconds, is going to attack, and then at level 6, it's going to stun enemies for 3 seconds after being hit 5 times. Hex of Whispers. What this is going to do, dealing damage to an enemy, afflicts them with Hex of Whispers that deals shadow damage the next time damage is dealt. After, Hex of Whispers will jump to another enemy for a maximum of 6 times. Hex of Whispers can only be applied once every 5 seconds. At rank 7, bouncing onto 6 enemies, the Hex bounces back to you and it's going to generate 15% Fortify, and it's going to remove all crowd control and negative status effects on you. Aura of Lament. When you first strike an enemy, it is afflicted with an Aura of Lament that slows it and others nearby by 70%. For each enemy inside of the Aura of Lament, you're going to gain 3 primary resources every second. If the initial enemy dies, the Aura of Lament is passed on to another nearby enemy, retaining the duration. That lasts for 30 seconds. Only one enemy can be afflicted at one time. This may occur once every 30 seconds also. at rank 15, you can now apply the Aura of Lament to 2 enemies at a time. Next thing we're going to go over is going to be your Mercenaries. We're going to be running Rahir for the first one. This is just going to be for defenses. If you prefer to run another Mercenary, that's perfectly fine. But running Rahir is a very safe way to make sure that you don't die. He adds a lot of tankiness, he has a taunt, and he adds additional damage to you. So follow along with this. Variana is going to add additional attack speed as soon as you use Pulvarize. This is going to be a great source to your damage as well. The final thing that I have for you, and this is important here too, is we have a leveling document at the very bottom. This is the document right here. It's going to have all of the different leveling guides that I put together and a breakdown of what to do through each of the phases of the game as you level. It's got a whole bunch of how-to guides, interactive maps, where to go, what to look for, and then what your gear checks are going to be as you go along. It also includes a little bit about level 60 once you get there. So this is the planner. This is everything that I got for you today. I cannot wait to hop into the season. Hopefully this helps you out. I'm going to be live as soon as the servers go up, and I would love for you to stop by the stream and say hi. I'm also live every night. Stop by, say hi, theory craft with me. Catch you on the clip side.